Welcome to New Hampshire Lodging and Restaurant Association's Workforce Series event, Navigating J-1 Visas. Today's event is presented by Katie Porter, Director of International Partnerships at GeoVision.
So my name is Katie Porter. Like I said, I work for GeoVision. We are a J-1 visa sponsor based out of Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Actually, we were based out of Portsmouth before COVID hit, and now I am based out of my spare bedroom. So I am a New Hampshire girl and understand the challenges that a lot of New Hampshire host companies have faced, through COVID and, just with seasonal staffing in general. So just to get started. Just to give a very rudimentary explanation of what the Bridge USA program is, used to be known as the J-1 visa, now has been rebranded as the Bridge USA program. So the programs are overseen by the U.S. Department of State. And the program I'm going to talk about today, the Summer Work and Travel Program, the J-1 Intern program, and the J-1 Trainee program. I think the one that is generally most applicable to New Hampshire is the Summer Work and Travel Program, so I'll probably spend my most time talking about that. The Summer Work and Travel Program is an amazing program which essentially allows university students from abroad, both undergrad and graduate students, to come to the United States to take up seasonal employment kind of around the United States, to really share their culture and learn about other cultures while they're here. And the joy of the program is that they're able to recoup their program costs by working. And that leads to great diversity in the workplace. You get a diverse pool of candidates who are able to come because they are able to earn money while they're here. And then obviously your workforce at your locations is exposed to just a myriad of other cultures and people. So in general, participants work from 3 to 4 months. It depends on which country they're from. But the jobs are always temporary or seasonal in nature. And I'll get into kind of the definition of that in a moment. So in general, the program runs across 3 seasons. We recruit in the spring, the summer, and the winter. I know the fall season is always the one that host companies want the most, but the way the program works is we bring students during their summer vacation. So we're coming up onto the winter season, and there's going to be a lot of students from South America up here in New Hampshire for that time. So for them, that's their summer, our winter, but that's when they're able to participate. And unfortunately, there just aren't that many fall. There are no participants that come in the fall because there are no summer breaks in the fall around the world. So in general, these students take up jobs at seasonal businesses. So that could be, restaurants, fast food places, coffee shops, ice cream shops, that sort of thing. Amusement parks, water parks, retail stores, hotels, campgrounds, you name it, lots of ski resorts, that sort of thing. So if your business has peaked seasons, you'd be eligible for the Summer Work and Travel Program. So the program at a glance, basically the requirements of the host companies is that, like I said, you have to have a seasonal hiring need. So if you get busier in the summer, you get busier in the winter, that's when you're able to bring in some of these Summer Work and Travel students. In terms of requirements for students to work, there is a regulation that we think will be forthcoming from the Department of State, saying that that every participant needs to have, on average, a minimum of 32 hours a week across the course of their programs. So as a best practice, that's what most sponsors say. Obviously, participants can go over that 32 hours. It's just that we need to ensure that they have enough money to kind of live while they're here in the United States. So that's why we like to see that 32-hour window. So program length, it's usually 3 to 4 months. And then if they successfully complete their program, there's a 30-day travel period. And again, I'm going to show some slides later that go over the exact program dates from different countries. But, the summer season usually runs from early May to the end of September, and different nationalities fall within that time frame. And then the winter program runs from like November 25th until March 31st. I think that's usually the program timeframe. And again, students will fall somewhere within that window of time. And prior to arrival, participants are heavily screened to make sure they are, ready for this to take on the program. So the program sponsors work with overseas partners for recruitment on the program, and the overseas partners first screen the participants for for why they want to come on the program. Are they coming in the program to make money? Are they coming to share their culture? Are they coming to learn about the American workplace? For us, it's really not a money-making program. It's very much a cultural exchange program. So we like to make sure students have, sufficient English levels to make sure they are able to work and survive here in the United States. And that for their host companies, they're able to have these students come settle in and, really thrive at what they're doing. So as a host company on the program, there are certain regulations that we ask host companies to follow. And I mentioned this earlier, but the Department of State oversees the program. And basically they work with US sponsors to carry out the program. So I sort of look at the Department of State as our boss. Everything we do is to make sure the host companies are protected, the students are protected, and that everything is above bar. And basically that means, the primary aspect of this program is to promote cultural exchange and, for soft diplomacy, for participants to come share their culture, diversify the workplace. That's why we ask our host companies to make sure when the students come on the program that they do have ample opportunity to kind of experience what life is like in the United States. If that could be, inviting them to cultural events, or in that, cultural events sometimes to students is a trip to Walmart because they don't have it at home, or, the farmer's market, 4th of July fireworks, that sort of thing. We just want to make sure when participants come, they are an amazing addition to the workforce because they are here, they want to work hard, they want to learn, they want to just jump right in. But it's not just a work program, it's a work and cultural exchange program. So we ask host companies to, take an active role in that, just so that everybody gets the best out of the program experience. For host companies, all sponsors ask that they offer dependable programs. There are few government rules that host companies kind of need to comply with. The Department of State doesn't want students to work primarily between the hours of 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. because it is a cultural exchange program with the work component to it. So generally they take the morning shifts, afternoon shifts, or kind of early evening shifts, which is fine. Students, when they arrive to the United States, a lot of them don't have social security numbers. So the way it works is the students arrive to the US, they let their sponsor know that they are here. And we check them into the government database, CVIS. And 10 days after they have checked in, they are allowed to apply for their social security number. So host companies should be aware that for the first 2 weeks of their program, the participants likely won't have a social security number. But during COVID, that process has taken a little bit longer just because the social security offices aren't as open as they were prior to COVID, but normally within a month, the students will have the social security number, but we do ask that they are allowed to work prior to receiving that number. And like I said earlier, it's important that students do have a stable wage so that they can pay for housing and their food in the US. So we do ask for a minimum of 32 hours a week when they are here on the program. So again, the way that we look at the program is that these participants should be treated like any other American colleague. So if you are hiring housekeepers, dishwashers, front of house staff, everything like that, that the participants are paid on average, the similar wage of their American counterparts. And just like you were on board an American employee, we would just ask you to onboard the international students the exact same way. So they can come, they can have an orientation. As soon as their program start date hits, they're allowed to start working, and a lot of them are ready to jump right in. So I know it can take, a couple of weeks to get them onboarded and oriented and everything. But that onboarding process is very important to make sure they do have a very successful program for the time that they're here. And then obviously every participant that comes to the United States, they're going to have a program sponsor. So GeoVision is one of those, we're New Hampshire based, but we have amazing colleagues in the field. So, up in Portland, there's CIEE, down in New York City, there's InterExchange. So you're just going to want to make sure that you work really closely with your program sponsor to make sure that the details on the job offer are very clear. So if they're going to be working as a housekeeper, say that they have to expect to do some heavy lifting, to do some deep cleaning, to be working with chemicals, or if they are a server, that they need to have a very strong English level and that they have to be able to retain the information to put the orders in and be quick on their feet, that sort of thing. So the more information you can provide upfront to kind of set the correct expectations that their participants will do. And like I said, these are all awesome. They're perfect for the seasonal opportunities because they can just jump right in. We've had students do some amazing jobs, especially in New Hampshire. So this area seems really kind of perfect for the program. And then another thing that host companies have to provide in order to move forward the program is just proof that they are in good standing. So you have to provide your sponsor with some certain vetting documents. And that's just because the Department of State wants us to ensure that we are doing our due diligence and ensuring our students are at safe placements. So that would mean you would give us a copy of your business license and a copy of the workers' compensation policy you have in place. And then depending on where you are and when you are hiring, your seasonal verification. Like if you're a ski resort, you wouldn't need to provide that to us because obviously if you're a winter employer at a ski resort, we would be able to know that that is your busy season. That's normally what sponsors are going to request of you if you are ready to take on the program. And again, it's really important to have very clear conversations with your sponsor and all the stakeholders in the exchange to make sure everybody feels well supported, the host companies, the students, the Department of State, your sponsor, the overseas partners, etc. So I've talked about some of the responsibilities, but I could just talk on and on about the joys of this program as a whole. I mentioned earlier, I'm a New Hampshire girl, grew up in Windham, New Hampshire, and I worked at Canopy Lake Park. So one of my first experiences in the workplace was among a huge group of J-1 students. And I swear to you, it kind of like set the path of my career because I just thought it was so cool that they were coming to the United States and I was not just working with kids from Windham and Salem that I had been going to school with my entire life. So it just brought such a unique worldview to the workplace and it made it fun and exciting. And those locations where like I'm using Canopy Lake Park as an example just because that is that's where I was growing up. But the towns, Windham and Salem, like they couldn't have supported the workforce needed for the park. So these students coming in were an awesome benefit to the host company. So like I said earlier, these students come in to fit the seasonal need. So if your season runs from May to September, perfect. You would get students for that time period to really assist you through that peak staffing that you need. And the good thing about it is you can say exactly when you want students to arrive and when they need to end. And, you'd have to have a little bit of flexibility with it because I think the earliest, like say you were like a May to September employer, if you wanted students to work from May 10th to September 10th, you would just have to know there may be a teeny tiny bit of flexibility in terms of them being able to get their flights and arrive. So if your start date's on the 10th, they might arrive the 9th, 10th, 11th, that sort of thing, but still you can expect that they will be there for that time period that you want. We do have to kind of navigate some embassy. It's been a tough year, or tough 2 years because of COVID. So we've had to navigate some really interesting situations at embassies abroad. But things seem to be getting better. So about 3 weeks ago, we weren't sure what the winter season was going to look like, but thank goodness there is so much positivity and support around this program that embassies in South America seem to be opening. So it looks like the program in Peru is going to be coming through, and it looks like the program in Chile is definitely coming through. So, it's a great chance to know that you're able to stock up on these like really wonderful participants who are going to be coming to the United States to help during those peak times. Motivation, the kids that are coming on the program are awesome. They are, I'm going to talk about them in the next slide a little bit more, but they are super motivated to come and to learn and to experience what life is like. And again, you just get a really cool, diverse mix of views at your workplace. So it is totally normal in the summer season to have students from Taiwan, Thailand, China, Jamaica, the Dominican Republic, Serbia, Montenegro, Macedonia, all at the same workplace, working together, kind of bringing all of those different worldviews right to, you know, Lebanon, New Hampshire, or wherever it is, which is, I think, really good for all the communities and the host companies. The program is cost neutral to host companies. So basically, there is no cost in place to be a host company. The participants pay a program fee to come on the program, which includes like their health insurance and their program support while they're here. We are seeing more host companies put some skin in the game though, because the program is so sought after at the moment. You know, there's always peaks and ebbs and tides about where the program lands, but right now there is such a demand, you know, especially in the hospitality industry for this program, that we're seeing some host companies really kind of up their game in terms of what they're going to offer the participants. So there's a lot of like sign-on bonuses or end of season bonuses, or if you complete the season, you're going to get $1 more per hour that you worked. So now is kind of the time for the host companies to put some skin in the game. That doesn't mean that there is going to be substantial program costs to host companies, but I do think that a lot of participants and sponsors are moving to kind of pushing host companies to take on a little bit more responsibility, simply because this program is such a huge value and there's a huge demand for the participants. So it's not like it was in the past where every host company could get participants if they wanted it. You know, this is a highly valued program, and the participants are awesome. And I think the next slide I'll talk about that. Like I said, they just bring a lot to a workplace. Actually, I'll just talk about that right now. So, you know, I wrote no two students are alike, but they do share several common strengths and qualities. So the joy of these participants is that they are hustlers. They are going to school to be doctors and lawyers and teachers and, you know, just a myriad of amazing careers. So you have a highly motivated, skilled, and kind of like exploratory workforce who wants to come in and just have the best program possible. And they want to earn money while they're here. They want to do the very best for their host companies. They want to bring those skills back home. Because for them, it's a huge bonus on their CV to say that they lived and worked in the United States for a 3 to 4 month time period. And we're seeing like alumni groups pop up across the world saying like, we're J-1, you know, Bridge USA, we're Bridge USA, you know, alumni, look at what we've done. And there was an interesting stat that came out last year, I believe, and it said 1 in 3 world leaders have taken part in one of these Department of State cultural exchange programs. So they, you will have a huge impact on the life of these kids if you were to bring them into your workforce. I don't know, I hope you guys can see these dates. So what I tried to do is take some of the general dates that we see for the program. So winter season, you know, there's a huge contingent of participants from Argentina, Malaysia, Peru, Chile, Costa Rica. Brazil is not as big as it used to be because it's just hard to get to the embassy there. But, you know, you've got students kind of from around the world that can come in for those winter periods. And like I said before, the winter season is generally, you know, the Malaysians can come on November 25th, the Peruvians can come December 1st. I think the Chileans can come right around there as well. But typical winter start dates are somewhere between like the 1st and the 15th of December. That's what we normally see. And then winter end dates are just in March. So they can go from the 1st of March to the 31st of March. depending on what the host company's needs are. So it really fills that kind of peak winter season quite well, in my opinion. The spring season, in general, that's not super popular in New Hampshire. I think that it depends on the business, but the spring nationalities are from Thailand and Ecuador, from Guayaquil, the coastal area of Ecuador. So you've got some cool diversity to come in at that time. And then the summer season is by far just the biggest season. You will see students from kind of all the continents can come at that point. So their program's quite big in Spain, Eastern Europe, throughout Asia. The Caribbean is getting bigger, especially like the DR and Jamaica, Colombia, that sort of thing. Some participants are from Africa, which is a really cool group. And the Senegalese students for New Hampshire employers, they work quite well because they are the only participants that are able to stay until, I believe, October 31st, so they can cover some of that peak foliage timing. But again, like, this is just a small list of the countries that take part in the program. And they're just awesome kids that really add a lot to the workforce. So we are a member of the Alliance for International Education, so I was able to get some of these numbers from them. So in New Hampshire, these numbers from 2018, so this is pre-COVID, but the summer work and travel participants brought in $13.8 million in revenue to the state of New Hampshire back in 2018. The intern and trainees was followed at, $2.8 million. There are some prominent host communities, obviously, like up north, there's some great ones, the Mount Wash, Woods, down in Portsmouth, there's a ton of host communities around Hampton Beach. So I didn't put together this list of communities or host employers, but those are some of the ones that we know work on the program, or the Alliance Abroad knows that work on the program. So back in 2018, nearly 4,500 students were in the state of New Hampshire. I'm interested to see how that fell back, during COVID and everything. But I know for summer work and travel, GeoVisions works with a number of host companies in New Hampshire, and we have something like 150 students coming to the state this winter, which is super exciting, and just nice to have that fresh blood back here and kind of promoting the program. So New Hampshire, there's a big benefit, and the senators and congresspeople in New Hampshire are also super, super supportive of the program. They always have been, and I think it's because they're listening to the constituents in their area saying like what value it brings to them. So that is the summer work and travel program. I am going to very briefly touch upon the intern and trainee programs, which is my next slide. So the intern and trainee programs are overseen by the U.S. Department of State as well. And basically they are designed to allow participants to come and gain experience in the workplace, but a more professional experience. So it's almost a bridge between studies and their careers. So these participants are not working at the entry-level jobs that you see on the summer work and travel program. They are coming in and they are working as managers, and they are learning kind of how the businesses are operating from the backside. So they can come for, in general, it's about a 12-month program. Some who are not working in a hospitality field, which really isn't applicable to this call, can work for 18 months. But yeah, it's definitely more of a professional program than it is casual program. So a trainee is a person who has been working within the field for 3 years, I believe, so like within the field of, if they were like hospitality, they would have to be working in that hospitality field for a number of years prior to coming on the program, and then working as a trainee in the United States. An intern is studying that subject field at university before they come to the US. So program at a glance, I've listed some of the main areas that these trainees and interns fall in. So they can do business management, commerce and finance, hospitality and tourism. So like probably the highest requested area here is the culinary arts field. So participants, there's lots of need for culinary professionals here, so that is a big part of the program. And then, arts and cultures, we have some teachers that come, some interns who work as paraprofessionals at schools, that sort of thing. And just like the summer work and travel program, the host companies must guarantee 32 hours of training per week. And that is much stricter than in summer work and travel, where summer work and travel, it's an estimate, it's an average of 32 hours across the whole program period. We'd like to see 32 hours every single week, but we understand during like orientation, hours might be 20 hours a week while the participants are learning how to do the job. But some weeks they might have 60 hours a week if it's school vacation or whatever it is. But with the intern and trainee program, and it is much more formal that it has to be that 32 hours a week. And the businesses that are open to this program must have at least 5 full-time employees year round, so to ensure that these interns and trainees do have enough oversight while they are working, or not, it's not actually, I shouldn't even say working, while they are interning or training at the host company, because it is very much a bridge program to help them further their careers and bring that information they've learned back to their home countries. So I don't want to go too deeply into what the intern and trainee placement plans look like, but that is essentially the backbone of the program. So this document that is put together is, you put that together in conjunction with your overseas sponsor and the participant to really create a rich explanation of what the participants should be doing here in the United States. So there will be very clear phases of what the internship or the training plan will look like. So you would do, the first phase would be like an orientation phase, and that could be 2 weeks long. And that's when they are being oriented on, how could you be a front desk manager? How could you, whatever the role was that they were taking. And then phase 2, they might act as that role. But the important thing to remember is the intern and trainee participants, they're not coming here to take an American's position. Like, this is very much like they would be coming and learning what it would be like to take what it would be like to have one of those positions in the US. So it's very much like a training, learning how to do these the best way possible and to learn those US skills to take home to their careers back in their home country. So the phases could be like rotational, like if they're working at a hotel, they could do something at the front desk for, a couple months, and then they rotate to the housekeeping department and see what oversight of the housekeeping department is. And then they'd rotate again and they'd go to the culinary aspect of it. So it's just like important to provide variety to the participants so that they have the best program possible. And then again, like just keeping in touch with the US sponsor to make sure those training plans are carried out and going well. And yeah, I feel like for this call, I didn't want to go too deeply into this because I do think it is more applicable to summer work and travel program, but during the question and answer section, I can definitely talk more about the program. But I think that is about it.
Thank you for participating in today's event. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to GeoVision's Katie Porter or New Hampshire Lodging and Restaurant Association's Amy Pariseau for more information.